Today we're starting on day one of the lift kits for this 2018 Crosstrek right here. Today we'll probably get done just doing the fronts for now. I gotta load up the wheels and tires into my truck so I can do them tomorrow. And then tomorrow we'll pick up with doing the rear lift kit and maybe even the bumper bar. But this is it. We have the tires right here for it. They are 215 75 15. Be of Goodrich all-terrains. Now this is the second one that we've done. The first one is already at the dealership, waiting to be sold. And yeah, this one we're going to show how to do the lift kit, how to do the bumper bar, the skid plate. We're going to show you how we wired up the LED light. Alright, so I got it all jacked up. It's on jack stands. Gonna start taking the wheels off. We'll get those loaded into my truck out there. And then I'll start on the front of the lift kit. Alright, so I just got all the wheels off the Crosstrek. I'm gonna start with the front suspension right now. So I'm gonna show you basically just a quick thing of how, or basically what you're gonna have to take off in order to get the strut out. So, basically, McPherson strut, it's just the 314s right here, up on top, just these. We're gonna have to undo this ABS wire, just so it doesn't get pulled and break. Just this 12mm for the brake line right there, the 219s at the bottom, and the strut should come out. Oh, and then the sway bar and link that's right here in the back. After that, the strut will just come right out. This top bolt is a camber bolt, so what I do, which I'll show you in a second, is I mark the top. The strut has a little indent in it showing what the top is, so I just get a permanent marker and I just mark right here, right at the top, just so when I go to put the bolt back in, it's in the right spot. Because if you don't do that, then you're definitely going to need an alignment because you don't know where you took it out of, so how do you know where to put it back in? So now I'll just start taking it apart, and I'll show you how. Alright, so what I was just saying before with the alignment bolt, I'm going to try and get in here as best as I can. Do you see all the little grooves on that top bolt? It's basically lined up with that strut one right there in the center. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to mark right there just to make sure I remember where that bolt goes back in. So then I'll just go line it up, make a nice little mark, follow it through the bolt head itself, just like that. And there we go. Now I know once I take that bolt out, I know where it has to go back in. So now let's just start taking this thing out. I'm going to start by just undoing the ABS wire here. You definitely don't want to get this thing pulled, or else then you're going to have ABS codes. Don't want to do that. That's out of the way. Take out this 12 for the brake line. We gotta save this bolt because we're going to be reusing it again. Now we take those lower 19s out. You have to get a mallet for that. now I just got to do the sway bar end link, which luckily this is a brand new car, so everything just comes right off. The sway bar end links are usually a little bit hard to do. Like what I've had to do in the past with other cars is that you actually have to get a vice grip on the other side of it in order to hold the sway bar so then it doesn't spin while you take the nut off. Luckily, like I just said, this is a brand new car, so I didn't have any problems. If you have mileage on your car, unless if it has a couple thousand miles on it, maybe even 10,000 miles, you might have some issues trying to get that sway bar end link off. So if that's the case, what you have to do on the opposite side, this ridge right here, you just get a vice grip on this just to hold it while you go to try and take the nut off from the opposite side. And then it should come off. Alright, so now all that's left is we just have to take out those top 14 nuts and that strut will come out. So let's go get those 14 nuts off and I'll show you how to put that top spacer on that comes with the lift kit. Alright, now as a quick little reminder, since that we already undid the lower 19s for the knuckle, when you go to undo these top 14s, when you undo that, all three of them, the strut's going to want to drop down. So what I do is I undo two of them and I leave the third one's just a little bit loose, and then you're going to have to hold the strut up from underneath and loosen that nut on top so then it doesn't just drop down, hit the axle, and potentially ruin the axle or, you know, puncture a hole in the boot. So now I have the 14 nut, the last one loose, and all I gotta do is just hold the strut, loosen it up, and the strut's ready to come out. Alright, we now have that front strut out, so now I'm going to show you what's included with the kit that comes for the front suspension. All the stuff in this front row right here. So we got the two top hat spacers. This is the powder coated option. Powder coat came out really nice. These two brackets right here are going to be for the brake line, just to reposition it once everything's spaced downward. Then just all the hardware for the top hats and also for the brake line bracket. These brackets right here, these are going to be for the sway bar relocation, the end link, just because, like I just said, everything's going to be spaced down potentially. So you need to have this on there in order for it to be in the right spot. So now I'm going to grab the right spacer, which we're doing the left side, and this right here, FL, front left. So we're going to do that one. This one right here says front right. Not sure if you can see it. There you go. So we're going to grab this. We're going to grab 3 of these nuts, because obviously we'll need them for right here. We'll grab a bracket and some hardware, and next to just throw that spacer on top of the strut. Alright, so we're ready to throw this spacer onto the top of the strut. In LP Adventure's instructions, which are online, their logo right there faces forward, so see how it's written a certain way. Also the front left that is right next to the stud, which I'm trying to get in, I showed you before, so that has to aim forward as well. So if you think of it this way, the strut, I'll aim it this way, the strut, this is where the wheel would be, the strut aiming forward would be this way. So the way that you put it on, LP Adventure, and the front left will be on just like that, which you can't see, which will be on just like that. That way all the alignment specs are still right, because if you can see it, the studs aren't 100%, they're not lined up perfectly with the original ones, which means that it puts it right back to the suspension geometry that's supposed to be at, which is actually really nice. So we're gonna throw this together. In order to get these nuts on, you have to lift the spacer up a little bit at first just to get the nut on, just because they use a bolt for this upper stud, so you can't really fit the nut in when the spacer is all the way seated. So you gotta put all three on just loosely. Make sure there's enough room so you can get the nut in there. Once all three of them are on, just tighten it down. Alright, so the strut is all together. It's ready to go back in the car. It's going to go back in the same way that it came out. As in, basically, when you go to put it back in, sorry, can't really see me. When you go to put it back in, you're going to have to lift it from the bottom, obviously, hold it up, and you're going to have to get one of those nuts on the top in order to keep it up there. There we go. I got one in. So now I just tighten the other two by hand. So I just got the top three nuts back in. Yeah, you can see the LP Adventure logo. I can't really get it good. I don't have light. I don't have enough light to try and get to it. But the LP Adventure should be facing the front once you have it in. That's how you know you installed it correctly. So now we're gonna go ahead, put the bottom back together, put the sway bar bracket on, and also the brake line bracket. Alright, I'm gonna try and start with getting these two lower 19s in. This will be a little bit of a pain if you can't get things to line up right. But I just got it. Alright, so now remember, this top one's the camber bolt. So when you go to put this one in, since everything's not tight yet, line up that top mark that we did. There's that mark. So we're gonna mark that with the top of the strut. So when we put it in, it'll be nice and aligned. Just like that. And now, it's right back in its spot. So now the suspension alignment is right in the same spot as it was when we took it out. Alright, so for the brake line bracket, it's the 90-degree one. 90-degree one goes right, it bolts right into the same spot as where the original brake line went into. So right here, which I think you can't see. No, you can kind of see it. Yeah, right here on the strut is where the brake line bolts into. The factory spot. But right now, since now it's spaced down more, we need this bracket. So the bracket will go in just like this, which will now have a hole right up on top for this brake line to go into. And you just use, for the bottom, you just use the original 12 that came out. You just thread it right in. Alright, so now, like I just said, with the bracket being on, now it's aimed upward, so now you can mount the bracket right onto it, either front or back. There we go, just like that. I'll probably do back. Just like that. Okay, so now it's all nice and tight. It's in there. It's extended about 1 inch, which will be plenty. Now you can see it goes way above that strut hole now. So now this spacer right here, we'll space it out the correct amount, so now we can bolt it back on. Alright, so it was a little difficult to film, just because it's in such a little tight area. But the sway bar extension bracket's installed. Maybe you can see it better from this side. Yeah, there you go. It comes with the 17 bolt and nut that you have to put through the factory location on the strut. Then the sway bar just bolts right above it. Plain and simple. Nice and spaced out. So now the only thing that we need to do left is reattach this ABS line and tighten up these lower nut and bolts, and then tighten up the top nuts. And then we're done with this side. Just clips right in. Those lower 19s are tight, the brake line is on, the sway bar is back on, and the ABS wire is back on too. So now all we gotta do is just tighten up those 14mm nuts on top, and then we're all set with one side. Alright, there we go. So that side's all set. Alright. So now this side of the suspension is all set. Everything on the top is tight. Everything down on the bottom is tight. Now if only I had the wheels done, which are now in my truck, so then I can throw this side on. So now let's get started on this side. This side right here. And like I said, I'll just keep the camera aimed at it, and I'm just going to try and blow through it as fast as I can. Now we're going to do the right side. I'm going to start with marking the camber bolt. Don't want to forget to do that. Alright, there we go. Front strut on the right side is out. I think that might have been like a minute and a half, if that. So here we go. Strut is out. I'm gonna go grab the spacer, and I'll just throw this one together. Guys, just finished up the right side. I didn't film putting it back together just because you guys already saw me do the other side. Hope you guys enjoyed. Now I hope you guys could do this on your own. Tomorrow, I'm going to be mounting and balancing the tires, and then we're going to be doing the rear suspension. So we're going to have to drop some subframe and put some spacers in. So that's going to be fun. Take it a little bit longer than the front, but it's actually not too bad. And until then, that's a wrap. I'm going to go home. See you guys later.